How you doing, YouTube? It's Will from Will Development. This is my 297th weekly update. I'm just going to run through things real quick. I feel like I talked a lot last week. Only major announcements are that my stone video, I believe I have gotten all the footage I need for that particular video. Weather permitting, I will be getting the footage, or I should say the remainder of the footage that I need for my experiment video that I'm still not quite going to let out of the bag just yet. I should be able to get the rest of that footage this weekend. It's looking like it's going to be kind of a rough weekend in terms of weather, so, that's sort of, we may just have to rain check that. Regardless, it doesn't matter exactly when I do that particular video. It was one of those things where I had to wait at least 28 days for the remainder of that footage to be gathered, but it wasn't necessarily had to be on day 28 or anything like that. So as long as I wait at least 28 days, that experiment will still be valid in my mind. So hopefully I'll be able to get the rest of that footage this weekend. If not, it'll be the following weekend. I've got some things going on with some deliveries and some stone orders to be made and things of that nature. Always trying to stay a little busy, but we'll see. But in terms of the Stone Masterclass series, I believe I've gotten all the footage done there. Usually what happens is you get done editing everything and then you realize you're missing this, that, and the other. And there were a few things I picked up along the way that I need to add. I have a whole list in my phone of notes, things that I forgot to add, things like what kind of grinding wheel to use that I recommend, little tricks for supporting the stones while you're working on them, things of that nature. And it's all stuff that I might record a secondary thing later, or I may just add with voiceover work afterward. So, it's one of those we'll just have to play it by ear kind of things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think the only interesting thing about the stone video is going to be the way I do my voiceover. I actually have decent mics and like a soundboard, but it's with my old podcasting partner back when I used to do a podcast. I believe he still has all that, and he was cool. The last time I talked to him, he was like, "Yeah, you can just have all this back if you want it," but I just never got it from him. So I guess if I wanted to have a little more professional sounding voiceover work, I would do that. But I think what I'll end up doing is just doing it the old school way, which is essentially hitting play on the footage I want to voice over and having a script that I read off of and just talk to the camera and just sync it up that way. And we'll just go from there. Either way, it should be a pretty good series. Thinking it'll be 3 parts, and I'll talk about it more next week when I have more time. In terms of training this week, training went, surprisingly, I believe every single day went pretty damn good. There will be no 2 video next week. Just didn't have time to get footage this week. The gym was busier, which is a good thing. But it was one of those things where I was just like, I just want to get my training done and get out. Squats have been going very well. I actually started back squatting again, nothing wild. Sets of 5, went up to 185 beltless on for a set of 5. And what I've been doing is I've been doing a lot of Zercher squats because those didn't seem to hurt me. And in the midst of doing those, of doing those, I would rest the bar on my knees and sort of force more flexion into my ankles, which then facilitated my ability to have a more narrow stance on my regular squats, which I believe is part of the problem of why my hip gets continually agitated when I squat. So I'm going to try to retrain my squat to be a little more narrow. And in doing that, I needed more ankle flexibility, which I've talked about for probably years at this point. But working on that to get that more ankle flexibility, and then sort of slowly introducing back squats back in. And we're talking like 1 set of 5, of each weight on just the back squat. But then Zercher is doing 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 6, that sort of thing, more strength focused. On those right now, worked up to, I think, 1, so bars 20, 115, 165. Take away 20, so like 135 and then like 145. So it was 135 on Monday for sets of 5, which beat my last week's record of sets of 4, which was tough, I'll be honest. The first set's never that bad, but after that it was really a tough tough thing, and I've noticed it's really helping me keep my trunk a lot more stable doing those. It's forcing me to stay more upright, and I'm forcing myself to do that, as well as forcing my upper back to stay a little more rigid, which is always a good thing. Deadlifts still capping out at 385 as the base number. Mondays went pretty good. I think I have footage of that one, maybe? Probably. No, that was last week. But it was rough on Monday, so I just did like literally just singles working up to that and just did it and was like, we're going to call it here. Tuesday pressing hit my new base is now 190 instead of 185 for the push press. And I did 4 sets of 3 with 155 strict and a 4 to 5 second count at the top. So that's locking out and holding it for a count. I've introduced that a few weeks ago now, maybe even a month ago, and it really seems to have helped my stability and my ability to sort of recover from a bad press. So I've noticed on a push press, if it kind of gets away from me a little bit, I seem to have a little more ability to sort of fight through that sticking point, and the lockout is a lot more balanced for sure, which can sometimes be challenging, you know, if it wants to go backwards or forwards and you have to chase it either way. So that's been helping a lot. I definitely would recommend that for sure, just doing the sort of pause counts at the top. You know, there's multiple ways to do it. You could rest at the bottom too, make sure you're doing dead stops, because that initial is usually the hardest part, just breaking it from your collarbone, so, or from the rack position, whatever you want to consider that. I consider if it's touching my collarbone, that's the rack position, especially on an axle because it's so much wider around. Then Thursday was the day I actually went a little heavier on the Zerchers, and I believe that was my 145 or 155 day. I have it all written down somewhere, but I don't care to look it up too much today. Only did 3 sets of 4 on that, with some other little accessories worked in. That's right, I did sled drags on Monday too. That's probably what burned me out a little bit more also before the deadlifts. But regardless, did those on Thursday, and then managed to do 2 sets of 2 at 365 and then my single at 385. And it was actually the 385 was the easiest feeling pull of the night. So, you know, it is what it is. And then tonight, worked with 155 again, but did 4 sets of 4 instead of 4 sets of 3. So just added that one extra rep. Didn't want to go up in weight this week because I was still feeling a little, I don't want to say weak, but I just wasn't feeling like I had the strength to go up to 160. And I kind of wanted to work with 155 just a little bit more. Strict press, no holdings, just 4 straight reps, just lock out to back down, lock out, that kind of thing. Went to my 190, actually tried it once, missed it, but I kind of knew I was going to miss it right when I unracked it because I didn't get a good breath and things like that. Came back about 2 minutes later, got a really good breath, and I mean, it just shot right up. It was probably the easiest 190 I've ever done in my life. I mean, the lockout was easy. Everything about it was easy. So that felt really good. So 190 is definitely the new base for the press. Now, the deadlift might be going up next week to 390. We'll see how things go. If I pull the 385 and it feels pretty good, then I'll just go with that again. It's all just numbers game, slowly pushing things up. But all in all, it was a really good week. Even though I did miss that first 190, I would consider this a no-miss week because I came back and did get it. And going to do some accessories tomorrow that I had to skip on Thursday and today, so I've got a bit of accessory work to do tomorrow, but I'll be going in early. Handling that on my Saturday, and we'll go from there. So other than that, not much going on. Good week. Thank you for watching, and look forward to the stone video and the announcement of the experiment video coming soon. And if you don't, nah, screw that. Just try to progress, work around things, and you'll get there. My hip and back have been feeling awesome lately, and it's because I sort of finally accepted the fact that I needed to step away from a certain movement and rework that movement, and now things are getting better again. And that's been the process the whole time, And there's nothing wrong with that. So don't be afraid to step away from something just because it's a staple. You know, you have to do squats, you have to bench, you have to deadlift. Don't be afraid to walk away from those movements and do alternatives for a short amount of time until you can figure out how to do it properly, or have somebody figure it out for you, how to do it the right way for you. There's nothing wrong with that. If you think there is, no, that doesn't even really make sense, does it? That's not a good question. Don't be afraid. And if you are, then what's your excuse?